confirmed that Jesus had indeed died on a cross. Our staff has been working round the clock through the night in order to bring you this special edition of Behind the Music, Jesus Christ. He was the son of Mary and Joseph, although there have been several questions raised about his paternity. Joseph did raise him as his own and taught him his trade of being a carpenter. And that was the simple life that Jesus spent for almost 30 years, the life of a small-town carpenter. Now, when some people turn 30, they get a tattoo or dye their hair, or perhaps even buy a new car. But Jesus decided to go on tour with his message of love and peace. He gathered a posse around him and called them disciples. He just had a way about him. He came up and said, "Drop your nets. Come on. Follow me. I'll make you fishers of men." Now, if you told me that somebody would come up and say that, and I would just get up, leave my nets and my fish and follow him, I would have thought you were crazy. But he just had a way about him. Made you do what he said. And for 3 years, Jesus and the 12, as they began to be called, went from town to town, stirring up excitement about something Jesus called the kingdom. And in between preaching gigs, he practiced alternative medicine. There were reports of him casting out demons, healing lepers, making the lame to walk, and even causing the blind to see. I've been sitting on this mat for so many years, I lost count. And then one day, this man came along and said, "Pick up your mat and walk." Pick up my mat and walk? I hadn't stood on these legs in years. And he thought I could just pick up my mat? He told me if I just believed I could do it. And so I believed. And I did it. I've been walking ever since. But I still carry this mat everywhere I go to remind myself that sometimes you can just get stuck. He became well known for his miraculous healings, and ironically, it was the reaction to these healings that was one of the first signs that trouble was brewing for Jesus and the 12 on their Hebrew tour. He was healing people in the name of God, who died and made him king. Went around healing on the Sabbath, too. That blind man, he'd been blind since birth. What? Couldn't wait another day? He acted like our rules didn't matter. As far as I'm concerned, just a long-haired heretic. And it wasn't just the healings that got Jesus jammed up. It was also the company he kept. He ignored the distinctions drawn between those who were clean and unclean. He disregarded the barriers between men and women. He had the audacity to treat everyone as if they mattered. When I first saw him, I was sure he was hitting on me. Why would a man like that come and talk to me, a woman with 5 different husbands? I always came to the well in the afternoon after everyone was gone because when I came, when they were here, they just ignored me and pretended like I didn't exist. So I come when nobody's here, and that way no one has to pretend. But when I saw him, he looked right at me. No, I think he looked right through me, as if all those other things didn't matter. I knew he was different. For someone like him, just talk to someone like me. Later, I found out I wasn't any big deal. That man hung out with lepers. No respect. He acted like all the decisions we had made about who was clean and who was not clean and who counted and who didn't even matter. He totally disregarded the rules that we had worked so long and hard to make everyone follow. And he said he was doing it all in the name of God. Can you believe the audacity As tensions grew between the religious leaders and Jesus and the 12, Jesus was becoming more and more popular with the peasant population. The poor and oppressed and the sick and the weak just couldn't get enough of him. His triumphant entry into Jerusalem during the week of Passover was off the hook. The crowds lined both sides of the streets, throwing their coats and their palms along the path, as if this carpenter from Nazareth was royalty. We were all totally stoked to see this guy Jesus, because we were pretty sure he was the Messiah. And then he came in, and he was riding on a donkey. This guy, Son of God, come to save us all, and he comes in on this Uber Econo ride, just like he's one of us. He totally gets it. But no one who crowded around the narrow streets of Jerusalem that day to welcome Jesus and the 12 could have predicted what would happen next. No one knew that this was the beginning of the end for Jesus and the 12's Middle Eastern tour. The 12 had been a tight group for 3 years when one of their own set about to betray their leader. I get a bad rap for this. Traveled around with this guy for 3 years. We went around helping and healing, and we never had an opportunity to cash in on it. Everywhere we went, we were the most popular people in town, and we still had to depend on the kindness of others to simply have some food to eat or a place to lay our heads. And then some guy comes around and says he'll give me 30 pieces of silver. 30 pieces! Figured it was just back pay for all the time I put in. You gotta believe me. I just thought they were gonna lock him up to shut him up. I didn't know they wanted to kill him. It has been reported that armed guards came to the Garden of Gethsemane, where Jesus had been praying and the 12 had been napping. Eyewitnesses say that Judas gave up Jesus with a kiss. The gentle carpenter, as some have come to call him, was taken before the local governor, Pontius Pilate, and it looked for a while that Pilate was going to let Jesus walk. I'm still not sure what the people's beef was with him. So we wanted to say he was the Son of God. So what? But they were all so angry. I was afraid if I let him go, I would have a mob mentality on my hands. And my job, after all, is to keep order. But I didn't want to convict him either. I don't really go in for this God stuff, but just on the off chance that what he was saying is true, who wants to go on the record as killing the Son of God? So, in front of everyone, I washed my hands of the whole thing. So Lord knows I cannot be held responsible. By now, all of Israel knows what happened. Jesus was beaten and mocked and crucified. It was confirmed at approximately 5 p.m. yesterday that the carpenter from Nazareth was indeed dead. As a nation mourns the loss, we thought it was only fitting to air this special edition of Behind the Music, Jesus Christ. There are those who say that all hope is gone now that he's dead. We have all lost our one shot at salvation. Still, others insist that this is not the end, that death cannot contain the mission and the message of Jesus. They believe that he will not, in fact, stay dead, but come back to join the living. Let us all hope on this dark day that the ones who believe that Jesus can make a comeback